RH, quer saber como voar no trabalho? É só usar a Flash. Com a Flash, você concentra toda a gestão de pessoas em um único lugar. Faça a admissão dos colaboradores e solicite mais de 8 categorias de benefícios. Ah, e você ainda pode fazer todo o controle de ponto. Conheça o novo onboarding integrado da Flash em flashapp.com.br.
Olha o contra-ataque aí, vem que vem o time avançando rápido pela linha de campo. Bola dominada no pé do camisa 10. Ele vai pra cima, passou pelo primeiro, passou pelo segundo e bateu a grande área, vai chutar. Bateu, é gol! Que golaço, minha gente!
A experiência de futebol mais autêntica já criada pros games. Junte-se no 5x5 Rush, a nova maneira de jogar com os amigos e leve seu clube pra vitória. EA Sports FC 25. Dê tudo pelo clube. Já disponível.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Blame Me.
Don't blame me.
Don't blame me.
Don't blame me.
Don't fucking blame me, you bitch.
Wow. Okay, you really took that to the next level.
But it's not the next level. I feel like that's like a half step. That's like a quarter box.
Whatever.
It's not a full apple box.
Okay.
Well, Weird Advice Podcast. I am Megan, and I am joined by my co-host, Melissa.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the greatest podcast you've ever listened to. Do you? We've been Oprah's favorite podcast for the last 5 years straight.
Yeah, go check out her favorite podcast list.
Yeah, we're there.
Mm-hmm.
It's an invisible ink.
I mean, I don't think she has a favorite podcast.
Does she
list.
not?
I don't think so.
I mean,
so that's why it works.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Scratch that. We're an advice podcast, and you know what you do on an advice podcast? You give fucking advice. So if you want to call in to be on an upcoming episode, you can leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. .com. You got to keep it under 3 minutes or you will be cut off, snip, snip, circumcised. And sorry. Let us know your pronouns on the call. Give us as much detail as possible. We really don't need to know your zodiac sign unless you have extra time at the end, but we need to know your age. We need to know all of the important details. And the best way to do that is to write down everything you're going to say in the call and then honestly just read it like a script, but practice ahead of time. Take your timer out on your phone. Time it, make sure it's under 3 minutes. And 3 minutes is actually like a lot longer than you would think. Like when you're writing it out, think of like the speeches you give in class. So the more details, the better. But yeah, give us as much detail as humanly possible because we want to be able to give you the best advice. Our advice not only is Oprah's favorite, it's world renowned, and what we lack for in credentials, we make up for in opinions, kind of like anti-vaxxers on Instagram.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
I don't think they'll be able to find that. Because they like have like search things that they like find it for like, they find, they like save the word anti-vax. Mm-hmm. And so then they
get alerts.
And then they like post it in their like freaky Facebook groups. They're like, let's all go harass this lady. And I'm like, okay. Do you get chills up your spine?
They give me chills.
It scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh my gosh.
Have you not seen me do that?
I have, but It was just, I was like looking directly at you, talking to you. So I don't think they'll be able to find the podcast.
Unless they're already here.
In which case,
since this podcast is all about happiness and positivity,
I literally need to have a sit down conversation with whoever fucking started the rumor that like this podcast, but then also like me individually,
I know,
preaches love and positivity. And I was like, I think you're confusing me with Jocelyn Davis. Like
she's a walking happy rainbow of love, positivity. Just like a Care Bear.
Like, literally, without a doubt. Like, of course. Like,
yeah. But such a sweet angel.
Yeah.
But that is not who we are.
No. And, like, I've never been that. And, like, nobody in my life has ever called me that. Like, personal, professional, none of the above. So I would love to know, but I mean, I know the true reason behind it is because, like, they're like, well, you like gay people. And I'm like, that's...
What?
Because that's always what it's like. But your inclusivity and, like, blah, blah. I was like, you think I'm like kumbaya, yay, great. Also, and because you're a feminist. I'm like, so because I believe that, like, you know, everybody should have equal rights. To be fair, when I have those conversations with those people, I'm like, I don't necessarily believe that you should have rights, but
everybody should have equal opportunities. And then when you prove yourself wrong, then your rights get deducted.
Exactly. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if you have enough brain cells together to vote. Like, so.
Right.
But I do think you should be paid as much as the men at your job.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, people.
I'm also like, gay people are people too. And therefore, like, half of them are also cunts.
That's like, yeah, that's like the whole thing that I just think is like, I'm like, you think that you have to be a saint to not be homophobic? Like that, damn. Okay. Like, that's what you like. If you can't take that away from like, well, you believe in this, blah, blah, blah. So like, therefore you have to be like Mother Teresa. I'm like, no. I can be a cunt. I'm still a cunt.
Right. It's about equal cuntiness for all.
Yeah. Cunts for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Equal access and opportunity to cunthood.
Right.
Cunthood. Maybe that should be our new merch.
I know.
Speaking of merch.
We're not wearing any because it's hot as fuck inside.
It is hot as fuck.
When we record the podcast, we have to turn the air conditioning off for sound. But.
Yeah. So it gets real toasty really fast. Since the merch has been out, we've already gotten so many people who are so excited and ordering. So if you missed out on our merch announcement, last episode, but it's also on our socials, Instagram, everything. Check it out. We will have the link for our merch in the show notes or wherever you listen. Or if you're on Patreon, we also have a link there. But we're pretty fucking excited.
We are excited. You know what I'm most excited about?
I was going to guess, but there's no point. What?
Is that everyone, like, there's not one shirt that everybody wants. It's like pretty evenly spread out that there's something for everybody.
And that makes me happy too. And we've like talked about our merch woes on our Facebook group, but like on Patreon as well. But I just can't stress to you all how hard it is to make merch that is. And I'm like, I don't want, like, there's some of these things that I don't want to like complain about, like, oh my God, like praise us at all. Like, no, we need to like just change the standard. Merch that is like size inclusive, is like good quality. And then the real kicker that doesn't profit Jeffree Star, Jake Paul. Because
literally what
the two biggest merch companies are them.
Yeah, I gotta read what for the merch company that we did use, which is a great company.
Founded by the Vlog Brothers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if someone's going to get a cut, because if this is a fun fact, a lot of these merch companies are monopolized by like influencers and content creators who get in early and either like they start it or they either have stake in the company, and like majority, like a huge amount of stake in the company. So, thank God that they did this because we needed it.
And they're like, in their Instagram bio, it says, doing things that don't suck with people who don't suck since 2008.
Like, yes. Like, thank fucking God. Mm-hmm. Thank fucking God. It was just so hard. And then it's also like, there are lots of like, other merch, like one-off companies or whatever, but like, they can't necessarily do like, they don't have as much selection or as like cool of stuff or like the capabilities to do what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And that's where the monopoly of it being like two like really shitty people. Yep. It's pretty rough. Okay. Well, we're excited about our merch and
hope you're excited too.
Very. I'm like so stoked for everyone to wear it. Especially the therapy sweatshirt. People are like, I'm going to wear this to therapy.
Some people have said that they're buying one for their therapist so that they can match.
I should get one for my therapist. I feel like she would love that. Yeah. She'd be like, great. Oh, that's fun. Okay, well, what's new with you?
Well, stuff has been, we just got like a mask mandate for indoors back in LA. So I was literally having lunch with two people that I podcast with that I had never met in person before because of the pandemic. And so we had lunch and we had it outdoors anyway. But as I was walking to my car, it was like, mask mandate. Coming back. And I was like, so this is probably the last lunch I will be having for a while.
Yeah.
So I've started making like a contingency plan for me going back to Arkansas.
Oh yeah.
Temporarily, of course. But like I've like think like I've found a place that has like, because I don't think I'll be able to stay with my parents for longer than 2 weeks.
Is the family listening?
I mean, I've already told them
they
in
know.
person. They know this. They know. So like my mom asked me yesterday about something.
I think they'd be more shocked if you were like, I'll come stay with you in a bit.
Yeah. So I found like corporate housing. So it's temporary for like you can do 3 6
housing.
So what I'm explaining, it's temporary. So it's like for people that might be coming from out of town, or like they're working on a job for short term. And so it's temporary and furnished. So it'll be perfect.
Like, what's it called? What are those apartments that every actor lives in LA when they first move for like pilot season if they're like traveling? Oakwood.
Yes.
The Oakwood apartments.
Yeah. So like that.
Yeah. Nice.
So I found a place. I'm probably going to put my car in storage and buy an SUV and then go.
When's your lease up?
This month.
And you're month to month after, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do wonder what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's weird. I mean, like, it's one of those things that, like, I haven't taken my mask off indoors at all. And I, like, still maintained, even with my mask, like, even if someone else is also with their mask, like, maintain distance, like, even on walks. Like, the only time Mats and I don't wear our masks is if we're on a walk by ourselves. But if we get within 10 feet of someone or even crossing the street, we always put our mask on to like cross the street, or like, or we'll cross the street so we don't have to like even go close to people. But it is like wild. So I saw this TikTok that was really fucking funny, where it was like everybody's treating the pandemic like the last day of their period. And I commented, I was like, yeah, everyone's just fucking
Someone
free
sent
bleed.
it to me today and I didn't get a chance to listen to it, but I heard listen to like 2 seconds of it. I was like, I gotta come back and watch this.
Cause like we're all free bleeding. It's like there are people, and like that's, I think, like the hardest part is obviously unvaccinated people are fucking it all up.
I mean, that's who's in the hospital.
Yeah. And that's like who is like getting, like I have friends who have gotten COVID post being vaccinated, which is like something that happens. But then there is also this like kind of thing of people who got vaccinated and were like, great, everything's back to normal. I'm going completely back to normal. And it's like, well, you're basically decreasing your risk of death and going to the hospital and having like an incredibly serious case. But like, it's not like going away, and like, you're not like completely immune to it. And also, regardless if you have like a not so bad case of it, like while you're actively sick, like you might still have side effects and all of that stuff afterwards.
And it's also too like some people aren't waiting 2 weeks. Like they think that they get vaccinated and then they're fully vaccinated and they're not. Yeah.
It's just, it's like an absolute shit show. But yeah, absolutely nothing is changing for me. But I did see on Twitter, people were like, some like, conspiracy theorists were like, notice how until there was like a vaccine, there was never even any variants. And someone goes, someone doesn't understand that Delta is the third letter in the alphabet. So like there are variants that come before.
Actually, in Greek, isn't it alpha, beta, gamma?
Alpha, beta, gamma, delta.
So it's not even.
You're right. For everybody who's going to complain that our intro is too long, it's because we don't have an update for this episode. And anytime anyone complains, I'm like, I think this has to be why. Like, you talk for too long. I'm like, well, we usually have the update. So we don't have that for this episode, but we have one for the next episode that we already recorded. That is
great.
Pretty fucking good.
So everyone, please, if you call in, please give us an update, because they've been kind of lacking recently.
Yeah. And you get to, FaceTime / Zoom with us. We're really nice. We don't bite.
What'd you just say?
We're really nice. We don't bite. We're so nice on the FaceTime.
Okay.
Like, if I'm wrong, I'll apologize to the person.
Yeah, okay. I thought you meant just like in general. We're really nice.
On the call. No, like, and I want to like really encourage people, like, if like,
we're never going to be mean on a Zoom.
No. And I don't think anyone ever who's calling back is like ever assuming that at all.
No.
But even if it's like not that necessarily, like if you think it's like, oh, well, blah, not that, blah, blah, interesting. No, we always like to hear about it. And even if some earlier seasons too.
I love those.
Me too.
Especially if you were like 15 when you called.
Yeah, those are fine. I find really Really cool. Even if it's just like a happy ending. Like we love a happy ending.
Or if it's bad and you learn something from it.
Yeah. Or even if you have like an update, but like it hasn't concluded, but you're like, there's more information. And like maybe we asked questions and like you need more help. You can give us that in like the sense of an update.
2 thumbs. Well, 3, 4. 4 thumbs way up the
You have
butthole.
tiny fucking thumbs.
I have tiny fucking hands.
Yeah, but I feel like that thumb specifically is so...
My nail broke on this
okay.
one. That's what it is.
It does.
Yeah.
It looks so cute.
It broke when I was zipping up the bag.
That all being said, let's get into the calls.
Let's get down to business.
To defeat
Never seen
the
it.
Huns. What? You would love Mulan.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I'm 28 and I use she, her pronouns. My boyfriend's 29. We've been together for almost 7 years. He was my first boyfriend ever. Let's just say I was kind of a late bloomer. We started dating when I was 21 and in college. We met through mutual friends and I had zero experience before that, mainly because I was very shy and anxious around boys. But he was very patient with me and that was exactly what I needed at the time. I loved him very much and still do love him today, but things have been different for a few years. The passion and the butterflies that you get from a new relationship, especially since it was my first one, are not quite there anymore. I'm still happy with him, but it's not passionate anymore, you know? My sex drive is very low and has been very low for a while now. And it's hard because he has a higher sex drive than me and I feel bad sometimes. But I've had a lot of health issues in the last years. Like for a while, I had almost constant UTIs that were very painful and that were probably caused by sex because I've never had them before becoming sexually active. Plus, add to that the stress of my career and adult life in general. I'm not a student anymore. I have big responsibilities at work, plus COVID and the horrible year that we've all been through. Like, I just don't know if my low sex drive is normal due to all of those circumstances and like if it will eventually go back to a better place naturally or if it's because I'm not as attracted to my boyfriend as when we were younger. Maybe I should get more experiences with other men before I get too old and definitely settle, have a family and all of that. But at the same time, I love my boyfriend. We bought the house together. We have animals together. Like, it would not be simple to leave this relationship behind. It's 7 years of my life. Last thing, we're both in the same field. We do not work at the same place, which I would never do, like you often say, Megan. But we basically have the same reality, the same schedule, all of our weekends together, vacations together, and we very much understand each other. Like when we come home after a rough day, we are there for each other because we face the same challenges and all of that. So I know that I wouldn't necessarily have that in another relationship. Like we understand each other very well. No, real last thing. Yes, I've tried therapy. Maybe you will mention that. I went to a sex therapist for a few months this year, but I feel like she wasn't necessarily experienced enough. I don't want to be rude to her. She was very sweet, but the match wasn't quite right. It didn't really help. And I'm fully open to try again and find a new therapist. But it can take some time. It can be long because they have lots of clients and they put you on their waiting list. Anyway, any advice would be very appreciated. Thank you.
There's a lot of things going on here. And
I would like to commend the amount of information we were given.
I would like to as well. Not quite a gold star just because I could tell you didn't write it down.
No, but I can tell that you were like an organized
Yes,
thought and like you probably are like a really big asset to your job.
Mm-hmm.
Like you seem like a good employee.
Yeah. First thing, I don't consider you a late bloomer, and I think we should all just stop putting ourselves on timetables for other things. So, for anything. So, you got into a relationship when you found somebody that you wanted to be in a relationship with. I don't think that's a late bloomer. Mm-mm. Second, I think some of the things that you discussed are related, but they're also not related, if that makes sense. What do you think?
What parts do you think aren't related?
I think that maybe now that you're so comfortable in your relationship, that you're bored with the comfortability.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're not attracted to him anymore, which that might add into it. But I feel like you might feel stuck in this relationship that you might not necessarily want to be in, or you want to be in it, but you want to, because you've never been with anyone else, you want to explore other relationships or partners.
Yeah.
Because just to go off of that too, you're like, it would be hard to leave because we bought a house together and have animals together. But you're also questioning if you want to be with someone else.
Yeah. I mean, I think just from like how you're talking about it, you want to, you're done. Like, yeah. I think like you have to also ask yourself, like, if you're not attracted to him the same level that you were anymore, and you're feeling like, is your sex drive related to, I don't want to say him, because it's not like it's nobody's fault. It's not even like, it's not anyone. It's just like, first of all, medication, like mental health, and then also just like ebbs and flows of like age and time and circumstance and everything. But like, do you have a sex drive to like masturbate?
Right.
Because that's like a huge indicator. Not just having sex with someone else is like, do you have a desire to like get off at all? But I would say like the way that you're talking about him, like, I know you're saying that you love him. I'm not doubting that you love him at all, but like, it is a lot of like the practicality of it. And I'm personally always in the camp of, if you're wondering if you should break up, you probably should. And if you're wondering if you're having like, I think like, you know, being cautious, and I don't want to say having cold feet, but being practical of the future's not always like guaranteed in relationships and promised and all of that kind of stuff. And like taking things day by day. But I think if you are seriously having like hangups about a relationship, then it's time to go, and it's time to be done with that. And I think because you haven't been in a relationship before, that and I also think that there's like something to be said about,
it's been 7 years.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of fucking people who are unhappy in relationships, and the way they talk about it, like where it's like, oh my God, like my fucking wife, like, oh, my husband, like I have to like this whole like drag of a thing. And especially when you're young and you're like that, I'm like, I'm here to say, normalize divorce. Like, stop staying together for kids. Not that in your situation, but I think that because we get so used to people talking about like the old ball and chain of like, well, yeah, you know, like things like after X amount of time, you might not feel like, you know, relationships are work, which they are. But I think it just gets lumped in together with people who are unhappy in relationships and desperately try to like normalize that, where this to me sounds like there are like, you can see a version of your life with him, but
because it's comfortable, because you guys have the same work schedule, you have the same weekends, like everything you're saying is because you're set in what you're doing, and it seems like the excitement might be gone, but you feel like because you do have commitments with him, that this is where you should be for now.
And I also think that, like, as somebody who's also in a comfortable stage of a relationship, the comfort should be welcomed, and the comfort should be exciting and not like daunting and suffocating.
It's something you're not complaining about. And you've also said, like, you said something along the lines of like, essentially you do want to date other people, but like, don't want to wait till it's further down the line when you already have like a family with this guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like marrying someone or starting a family with someone should be like an exciting time in your life. And this doesn't sound like excitement to you. That sounds just like the next step.
No, exactly.
It's what you quote unquote should do.
There should always be, like, I always say that like any new step, any new phase of a relationship, it should be because you are done with the existing phase and you're excited for the next phase. But like, it sounds like to me what you are what would excite you more is being single than getting engaged and getting married and having kids. And like,
you're dreading it.
Yeah. And like you sound really compatible, but you can be compatible with a lot of people. And I don't necessarily believe in like I don't believe in like soulmates. I believe that like you choose your person and the choices that we make and the life decisions and just like life in general is how we get to be in the circumstance where we can choose that person, and you can like no longer choose that person and then choose somebody else. And it all just depends on like who you are and where you are at that time in your life. But I think this is relationship, and he has served you and like as a person in your life for like a really great thing and like for a good amount of time and all of that. But it's also really okay to leave a relationship because you think there might be something better out there. And that doesn't make you a bad person, nor does that, I don't think you're closing the door on the true love of your life, because I think if that was the case, you wouldn't be having these feelings.
And people can be the love of your life for a portion of your life. Like for that first portion, for your first love, for your first everything, like he was great for that. But now that you're like coming into your own, you might be moving into a different phase in your life, and there might be another person that's the person for the next phase. Or it could just be like you're the next phase.
Yeah. So I say, I think a sex therapist, if you feel like you need to do that again, but like, to be fair, it doesn't sound like that is something that like, I think that this is kind of like run its course. And yeah, I think that you know that you are ready to start a new chapter of your life without being in this relationship. But yeah, and I don't know. I also think that like if you feel like if you do it and then like you make a mistake, well, you had to do it, you know?
Because if not, you're going to keep wondering what if.
Yeah. And passion and like all of that stuff obviously changes over time, but you should be excited about the phases that you're in. You should be more excited about the relationship you're in than the what if I wasn't in this. Well, hope this offered some clarity or was helpful at all. And
maybe if you do want to stay, go to couples therapy together, because I know you went to sex therapy, but you didn't mention if you guys went to therapy together. So that could help too. Yeah.
And I would also say that like in regards to like sex in a relationship, it's I really hate the whole notion of like one person, like it's my thing, so I have to fix this and like not clue the other person in. Like that's a conversation to have as a couple. And I think like, yeah, couples therapy would be the place for that. And also couples therapy doesn't like, you can go to a couples therapist who can also, we'll talk about sex with you and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Should we get on to the next?
Sure.
Hey, Megan and Melissa. I will jump right into things because this is just a really long story. So my friend left her emotionally and financially abusive husband in February. She has a 7-month-old with possible developmental issues, and she is in a major legal battle over some inappropriate actions taken by her ex during a 2-week period in March where he manipulated her back in. So basically, she has a lot going on, and my husband and I have been there for her through most of it. Her ex has been posting photos with his new girlfriend on Instagram, really flaunting it, just really, sleazy of him. While she instead did a total badass thing of recording a video of a photo shoot she did for a 23rd birthday / divorce party thing. And she destroyed her wedding dress in it. So I was proud of her for taking the time to focus on herself and her baby and not jumping back into a new relationship like her ex. So when I went for coffee with her this week, I told her this and praised her for it and was like, good job. However, she did let me know that she was dating somebody. She just wasn't posting him. I was told by her that he was an older guy and he had been married before and had children of his own. one biological child, but his other kids are stepkids from his ex-wife's previous marriage or even just previous relationship. I'm not sure. So I was just kind of like, you know what? Should be fine. Older guy might mean like, I don't know, 7 years or something like that. That's fine. However, when my husband did some research, he found him on Facebook and learned that the guy was born in 1979, which makes him 42 years old. He also has a kid who is older than all of us. All of us are 23 years old. So basically, when this guy was born, my mom was in kindergarten. Like, that's how big the age gap is. I know that there are successful relationships that have large age gaps. However, what the heck does this 42-year-old guy who's already been married, who already has kids, and lives 411 miles away, what does he want with my friend? Right? So I'm wondering what you guys think I should do. I'm worried for her. I definitely see a pattern of codependency in her life. So do I talk to her? Do I talk to her family? Her family seems kind of supportive because they drove her halfway to meet him this weekend, but I'm not really sure. I would love to hear what you guys think, and love your show.
See, at first I thought it was going to be like, they haven't met before. And I was like, he's just a sugar daddy.
I was going to say it might be a catfish and a sugar daddy.
But they've met now.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I mean, this is hard. I think that, like, if you can see signs of codependency in your friend and all of that stuff, I'm just going to level with you. I don't think that is... I think what you do is you be supportive and you be... there's a way to be informed as a friend without necessarily being like, yes, do it, supportive. Like, you can just like be an ear to listen and all of that kind of stuff. I think because she got out of a really scary and rough relationship.
Which she's still kind of in
because the legal battles and stuff. Like, there's a lot on her plate right now. Yeah, I think that's kind of like the more that you can be supportive and just there for her and all of that. And as it comes up naturally, ask questions or inquire about it, or like, how did you meet, or what, like, why'd you keep it a secret, or that kind of stuff, where it's not feeling, so she doesn't feel bombarded by it, because that is even more isolating. And especially if you think she's like codependency issues or things like that, that can then push her into the arms of like another pretty shitty person. I guess like my one thing I would offer, if she's like going to go see him, I would like also offer, I would offer to like babysit. And so like if she's gonna,
well, it seems like her family's there.
Oh, that's true. Because I was gonna say, I think that like
that's keeping the baby.
That's something that like,
or it's when her soon to be ex has the baby.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking a friend like, oh my, like he like. So, like, and play dumb, like pretend you didn't look it up on Facebook, and like, so tell me about this new, like, tell me about the new guy, like, how much older is he? And then she like says like 42, like, whoa, like, do you not find that, does that not seem, is that not like, does that not feel odd to you? Like,
what's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey, guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like, it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
I don't think this is a forever relationship of any type of way. I think it's a transitional one, and I think that this is just my opinion. I think just be there to support her, and she's just spending time with a guy that isn't her ex, and is helping her through this transition.
Yeah, I think the one thing, but what she said, it was in the call, like what does a 42-year-old guy want with like my 23-year-old friend? And I think the worry there might be it's doing more harm than good. And like, especially if you don't know him and he's that far away and all of that stuff. So I think that like, I agree. I don't think this is necessarily like a forever relationship, but I think however you can ease your mind by like learning more about him, or even offering to be like, let's all go, like, yeah, it's fucking weird. I'm not a fan of age gap relationships, but yeah, it is a little weird to date someone who lives like that far away. And if you're worried about your friends, like her getting into like another abusive relationship and having it be something just really bad again, then meeting him and being like, knowing where the house is that she's at, you know what I mean? Like all of those kinds of things. I think that like not your guard, but like your goggles are on for red flags in men that she's with. And I mean, the solution is not to baby her or like have like, even if you think that like she's making bad relationship decisions and all of that kind of stuff, it's her prerogative. And like, it sucks, but you can't protect your friends from doing any of that. They have to learn it on their own. But the best thing that you can do is I think the best friend in the situation is an informed friend, and a friend where you don't necessarily have to be doing digging to find out information. Like she's giving you information freely, and that you can know, and you and your husband can talk behind her back and just be like, God, like it's weird, like blah, blah, blah. But I think if she's already keeping it a secret, that might be raising some red flags for you, that like that's stressing you out. So I would just swallow your judgment when you're around her, and you don't have to be her hype woman, but like find out as much as you can about this. And so she can come to you and talk to you, because I think that there is a difficult thing when you're getting out of a bad relationship and then getting into another one, that sometimes you can feel stupid if it goes badly again. So I think the least amount of judgment you can do. So if things do go bad in this, which I think just by nature that they will, regardless of what going bad is, whatever it means in the situation, that you are hearing it from her and she knows that she can count on you.
What was her family like during her separation and divorce from her husband? Like, were they supportive of her? Because if they've met this guy, that could be like an indication of how things are. Yeah. And it could be there. I mean, there could be like, it could be like a lot of reasons of like a family that's not really emotionally mature and like don't know how to talk about it. And so it's like, oh, a new person. Great. Awesome. Maybe she is struggling financially and this guy is like, I mean, again, if you're going to date someone old, don't date them for free. Mm-hmm. But like, maybe it is something like that, or maybe they're kind of like very traditional old school and like you need to get someone who can provide for you. But yeah, maybe they've met him and it's kind of like their seal of approval on that. And I mean, to answer your question of what is a 42-year-old seeing a 23-year-old, I mean, young, hot girl. And I think that like there is a power dynamic when it comes to age gap relationships. We weren't even talking about this before we were recording. There are so many things that come into play. It's not always like a fetishization of like younger women or young bodies. That can really happen. It can also happen at any age, especially if I would say if someone has a body like mine. Like there's like anytime an older guy would hit on, like an older guy would hit on me when I was, I mean, even still now, I'm like, I look pretty young for my age, and like I don't have what you would call like a I don't know, like the beauty standard of like a womanly, like voluptuous woman.
Yeah, like a womanly body. Mm-hmm. Like I've pretty much had the same body since I was in middle school. Like I just do have that. And so that I can there's that dynamic. Then there's like a power dynamic of someone who is kind of just like a piece of shit and like, or not even, not the power dynamic one, but there's someone who like does not amount to much within their peers and wants to feel good about themselves and has a pretty like low self-worth. But it's kind of the same people who like become cops, where it's like, so they need this like false sense of like, oh, I'm doing great. Like I am like, look at me now, like, like short man syndrome, what? Like, fuck off. And like who date younger girls who make them feel cooler and more important. But then there's also just like the media has portrayed younger women and men together and older men together for like such a long time that it can be people mirroring the relationship that they saw with their parents or just old school stuff like that. Or it is a sense of like, you know, the really dangerous one, along with, you know, the fetishization of I want someone I can manipulate and control. And like, there are many reasons. There are many ways that people end up in those relationships. And I'm not a proponent of age gap relationships for the reason that like, I don't know, like I've always said, like, I know people who are in age gap relationships and they work, but it's because they acknowledge how they end up there. And it's not like, oh, we just fell in love and age didn't matter. It was, oh, I had to grow up way too fast. I had massive daddy issues, and my partner, my partner, like, you know, either saw a bunch of like relationships with younger people in the media or was really behind in his life with his friends and everything, and wanted to date someone who was more at his life pace, which happened to be someone who was younger because like he wasn't very successful. That's like when they work. But yeah, the kid thing is a little odd. That the kids are older.
Oh, I thought you meant her baby. I was
no,
like,
7 months is really fucking cute. That's a real cute age.
That's why I was confused.
Yeah, so I was like, if the parents aren't babysitting, you should offer to babysit, because there's no way she's making that drive with a kid in the car and then like staying.
Yeah, the kid could be staying with like another family member.
Yeah, I think you got to find out how they met. You know,
clearly the internet.
Yeah, but like, yeah, you have
It's
to.
probably like, what's one of the old school ones? Match.
Plenty of Fish. Only Farmers. Christian Mingle. But yeah, I would also preface this when you're talking to her, and this is the last thing I'll say on this. Preface it with, I know that you weren't like, I would have loved to know this from the beginning. Like, obviously it's not about me, and like you choosing to like not tell me is like your prerogative, but like, can I ask why you didn't? Because like she might be able to say like, you know, I felt, whether it's embarrassed or I like didn't want to blah, 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 or anything like that. She might be having preconceived notions that you are going to be judgmental, whether it's about this relationship or just judgmental of anything like that. And I think if she already started by not telling you this until it like, it kind of like was not essentially forced out, but like it was pretty awkward and like happened to come out, I would kind of backtrack and assure her that even if you are, which we're all talking about it, that she can totally tell you all of that kind of stuff. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. We are back from our break, and let's get into the rest of the calls.
Hello, Megan and Melissa. I am a 24-year-old female, pronouns are she, her, and my boyfriend that I'm going to be referring to is 23, pronouns he, him. We've been dating for about a year. So my two best friends that I've known since middle school, so for over 10 years, are planning a trip to a cabin in an Airbnb cabin in a mountain area at the end of summer. We decided to make it a couples trip. They have been with their boyfriends for around 2 years each. When I first brought up the trip to my boyfriend, he was unsure if he could get off of work. So that's what I told my friends, and that's where it currently stands, that we are not sure if he'll be able to attend because of his work schedule. But he was also kind of iffy about the trip in general because he had never met any of these people. I suggested that we hang out with them a few times before going, and he thought that it was a good idea and agreed. We have since hung out with them 3 times, and my poor boyfriend was bored as hell. It was mostly just my friends and I talking, chatting with each other.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
Because, we're the ones that know each other. We tried to get the boys more involved, get them to, mingle with each other or involved in our conversations. But for the most time, they just kind of sat on the sidelines. So now my boyfriend is iffy and thinking that he won't be comfortable going on this trip. He has ADHD and is a raging Aries, so he needs to be occupied or doing some sort of action 24/7. Otherwise, he just is pretty miserable and just not comfortable. I suggested he come up for just the 2 weekend days of the trip instead of staying for the full 5 days. And we could tell everyone that, he could only get off of work for the weekend and can't come during the weekdays. But he's still iffy about just that. I myself am going no matter what, but I'd rather not be the only person there without their significant other. But I also don't want him to be uncomfortable. So I'm just wondering, should I keep pushing for him to come for those 2 days? Or should I just leave it be and not make him participate in a situation that he's going to be uncomfortable in? Because I feel like it'd be awkward for everyone. But then again, I don't want to be the only person left alone. Also, the trip is about 3 hours away. So a point he brought up is that, he'd be driving 3 hours one day just to turn around and, go back another 3 hours the next. And yeah, let me know what you think. Should I keep pushing or should I leave it be and just kind of go alone? Thank you. Bye.
This is hard.
It is. This is the definition of who else gonna be there?
Yeah. Because if I thought about it like it was Mott's, I would be like, I don't know. Because I don't want to be forced to go anywhere I don't want to go. But at the same time, if I thought that if I thought Mott's was going to be awkward or it was going to be weird, I wouldn't want him to go.
Right.
So to me, it seems like, I don't know, if it would be awkward or uncomfortable, then I would feel really awkward. But it sounds to me like he's just going to be bored.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. But also, so you guys decided it was going to be a girls' trip at first, but then you were like, let's make it a couples trip. Did you guys get his input? Did you get his input before the final decision was made to make it a couples trip?
Yeah, that is true.
But I get it. But I also feel like when you go on trips in the middle of nowhere, you can just disappear by yourself if you want to. So if he can keep himself occupied, and you still, because you said you'd go even if he didn't go. So if he comes for the whole time and then keeps himself occupied away from each other, would it be fine? Because since he has to be doing something all the time.
Yeah, I would say is there a way that this could be scheduled and planned? Because
I think it is scheduled.
No, but in the sense of
scheduling out what you're doing.
Yeah,
on the
we're going to
trip.
go on a boat on this day and we're going to do this hike or we're going to do this kind of stuff because I think the idea of sitting with my best friends from middle school in a cabin in the middle of the woods is so fun and so great. But yeah, if it was I would Mott's and Sydney's boyfriend would without a doubt be fine. But if it was something, I can also understand needing to plan something how the way that you can hang out and do absolutely nothing with your really close friends. That can't be a couple's trip. Because you're going from this is just going to be a girls' trip where no one's wearing makeup, we're wearing sweatpants all the time, and we're not going to leave the cabin. We're just going to hang out and talk and maybe watch old movies that we used to really love. Once you include it and make it a couple's trip, it's no longer that. And so there needs to be some planning involved in activities, and we're doing this on this day, and all of that kind of stuff. And it's not going to be the same trip. And I think that, which I think you're probably thinking now, is like kind of regretting this as a couples trip now, because maybe you guys don't want to do all of that stuff and kind of just want to like bring the guys along, and you're realizing like he doesn't want to do that. But then you also like, well, shit, now I don't want to be the only person not in a couple on this trip. So I think that like for this kind of stuff, I think the good compromise would be him going for just like the weekend, or specifically going up and how many people are in cars and driving, all of that stuff? Because like I get that he's like doesn't want to drive 6 hours in like 2 days. So maybe if it's drives up with you all and then like drives back down by himself,
or she rides with someone, and then he comes, like when he comes back, she rides with him, but she drives back.
Exactly. Like, so like where he's in a car both ways, obviously, but he's only driving.
I'm saying
one
he
half.
doesn't have to go the first part. But he doesn't have to drive.
Yeah, but so like there's on either side, I mean. So like either he drives up when they're all going and he doesn't drive the car. He's just riding in the car. Like she drives their car or something. And then he like leaves early and takes that car. Then someone else drives her home. On the opposite end.
Yeah, I think actually if he comes for the first part, that might be better because he can fill out the situation to see if he wants to stay longer.
Yeah, and I get like needing stuff to do and like, you know, all of that kind of stuff.
But like he's a grown man. Like,
well, I think of this like this is kind of like one of those obligations, like a wedding. Like it's like not everything is going to be like really fun and all of that, but there's a difference between like I feel really uncomfortable versus I'm bored. And like if he's really uncomfortable and like these guys make him uncomfortable, or like I don't know, they're like maybe they say some like crazy fucking shit, or like it's just really uncomfy. That to me is like, okay, this is, if it's just Boris taking one for the team. But in the same thing that
Do you love Disney? Then you are going to love our hit podcast, Disney Countdown. I'm Megan, the magical millennial.
And I'm the dapper Danielle.
On every episode of our fun and family-friendly show, we count down our top 10 lists of all things Disney. There is nothing we don't cover.
We are famous for rabbit holes, Disney-themed games, and fun facts you didn't know you needed, but you definitely need in your life. So if you're looking for a healthy dose of Disney magic, check out Disney Countdown wherever you get your podcasts.
I also kind of think with weddings in that sense, I don't think that he should be paying for it then. Like, I think if you want him there and he's going to be bored and it's like not his ideal thing, I don't think that he should have to spend like, I don't know, $500 on this trip.
Right.
So I think that like it's weighing all of those kinds of pros and cons. But I also don't think that there's anything wrong with being like the only person not in a couple there.
Because I think that it seems like the girls are going to click up anyway, because you said when you guys are hanging out all as a group, the girls were all laughing and he's just bored off by himself.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's going to be the vibe of this. And so then you can FaceTime him at night and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think there's always like this ideal thing that you want like all of your friends' partners to be as like close and all of that kind of stuff. And it doesn't always just happen.
Nope.
But let us know what you decide to do. If you sugar mama it out, pay for him to go and let him be bored. Or
like he can't, what does he do when he's at home? He can't bring activities.
Yeah. On to the next.
Hi, Megan, Melissa, and potential guest. I'm 18 female going into my sophomore year of college. And I'm a Virgo on the cusp of a Leo with ADHD. And I've tried my best to list all of this out, so hopefully I can get through it cohesively. I'm also straight, which wouldn't usually be relevant, but it may be here. And my issue is that I think I'm unintentionally the toxic one in relationships, where I'm really into them in the talking stage and then go crazy once it gets serious. The same thing happens in every relationship I've ever had. For example, my sophomore year of high school, I had a huge crush on this guy. Like, I would think about him all the time, the typical schoolgirl crush. And we eventually started talking, and I was on cloud nine. Like, we texted all the time and had great conversations. He was truly everything I really wanted in a guy. We started hanging out with groups, and that was great. And then I had a bit of anxiety hanging out alone, but still pushed myself to do it a few times, and it was pretty much all good. I still really liked him. But then after 5 months of talking, quote unquote, which was about the beginning of my junior year, we made it official. And then all of a sudden, I started to get a lot more anxiety about going on formal dates with him, which we hadn't done previously. So I would just cancel or blow him off last minute. And then it developed into me being annoyed by him super easily and starting arguments to the point where I even got annoyed at the questions he asked about my life and almost resentful of his accomplishments. And then he would ask me what was wrong, and I would gaslight him and say nothing. And this would go on to the point where we would break up. And then almost instantly, I would feel so relieved. But then at the same time, I would also start to like them as a person again. Like, not romantically per se, but I wouldn't be annoyed at him anymore. And I would just have more empathy for him. Almost the exact same thing has happened just last year. And it's happened before, and I can't figure out why. Like, I'm a great communicator with my friends, and I get along with nearly everyone. I'm a very understanding and empathetic person, like to a fault a lot of times. But when I'm in a relationship, I just become this evil person that I hate, and I can't figure out why I can't stay in relationships. I also haven't had much trauma that could relate to this other than guys touching my butt in 7th grade, which, like, even when that happens now, it doesn't trigger me. So am I just a bitch, or do I not actually like these guys, or do I have intimacy issues? I've been told all of the above, by my therapist, friends, and I just truly can't figure it out. And as someone who's super introspective, really annoys me, and I really want to be in a happy, healthy relationship and experience that for myself. And I feel like I'm holding myself back. So please help me. Thank you. Have a great day.
So I think, obviously, I'm not therapist. I also don't think this is necessarily like a psychological diagnosis of anything. I think it's just kind of like similar to love languages and like understanding yourself better. It seems like you have, and we've talked about this on an avoidant attachment style. I very much agree with a lot of what you are saying. And that was the case for me, that I would really like people, build them up in my head, and then I would go out with them for however many times. Like, it could be one date, I don't like you at all anymore. It could be 2 dates. It could be we become in a relationship, and then it used to be 3 months was mine, not 5. It was 3 months in, I would roll over and I would be like, I literally hate you. I never want to see you again. I wouldn't say that to them, but in my head, it would go, 100 miles an hour to a complete roaring stop. And I just wouldn't get close to anybody, and that would be it. And it does sound like that is kind of what's happening here, is that you are avoiding getting close to anyone, like him asking questions about you and all of that stuff. But the issue is and you're self-proclaimed in this, that you're understanding that this is beyond just that. This is it's taken a really toxic form. And I do wonder if you recognize it in the moment, or is it kind of afterwards, you're wow, holy shit, what did I do? Because I think the thing is that you are trying to convince yourself to stay in these relationships, but in doing so, you're not that you should swallow it, but you're lashing out at them and gaslighting them and doing all of that kind of stuff. That's fucked up. That's a fucked up thing to do. And if you understand in that moment, when you start to feel those feelings, don't try and work through them, because right now you can't. Right now, when you're doing that involves you emotionally hurting another person. And I think that I think this is something that you said you're in therapy, but I really think you should talk to your therapist about this and all of the ugly details. Like, I gaslight, like, what, blah, blah, blah. I do this. And like, tell your therapist, like, because a lot of therapists have different styles. Like, tell your therapist, like, be harsh with me. Like, please be harsh with me. Like, this is on me. Like, these are the people that I'm dating. Like, I don't find that this has come from anything specific. Like, I think that there's something like, what is going, like, help me. Like, a lot of times therapists can be like, not bad therapists can like make you perpetually the victim, but really have like some tough love conversations with that. And I would also say that I'm pretty sure attachment styles are mostly formed. And I think this is like a version of one, I would assume, but like they can even be formed from, and again, don't quote me on this, I'm not a doctor, but obviously like emotional neglect from parents, but there's like even some of like kids who like cried it out, like the cry it out methods, like babies who didn't feel comforted as like an infant. And like, I'm sure there's a lot of speculation on that kind of stuff, but your therapist should know that kind of stuff more. But yeah, like this, you just, I think that you need to stop dating. What do you think?
Yeah, I think stop dating. But it seems like you're already self-aware of what you're doing. So if you do date, then be more intentional in your dating. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you usually react. Be aware of that going into it, because it seems like you're doing a lot of reflecting after the fact. So, and when did you come to these conclusions? Was this a new thing that you realized about yourself, or is it something that you've always known, which I think you hinted at before? So if it's something that's new, then I would say start dating with intention.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've done this a lot, like over
but
and over.
She's also 18 years old.
But I think that like you, right now, it feels like you are dating thinking that there will be a person where this won't happen with. And the issue lies in you in this and not the people that you're dating. And so in order to not do this to the person you want to date for a long time, you got to like get your own shit together. Cause it is kind of one of those things that's like, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And I think that this is one of those things that like, you can draw the conclusion that like, oh, I'm doing this.
Which it might, I don't know. Like, it seems like she might, now that she's aware, then she would go into it differently.
Yeah. I mean, I would take a big break from dating if you haven't already. And I know you are young, but I mean, I did that with Mott's. Like, I took a year-long break before I started dating Mott's because I was bad relationship. And I really cared for him as a person. And so I didn't want to do what I had done to every other guy that I had dated because like I really liked him. But I think if I had not waited, it probably would have been the exact same kind of situation and the same outcome. But I think that you got to get to the root cause of this in order to actually change it. I mean, I'm
just like, how bad could it be if they're in high school though?
No, I thought you said sophomore in college. No, that makes way more sense to the timeline because I was like 18 as a junior.
Yeah, these are people in high school.
Oh, maybe they just, wow, this changes everything to me. Maybe they just suck.
Yeah, it's the thing is like, who you date as a sophomore when you're a child, that's going to be different than who you date when you're older. And like, I think it's good as an 18-year-old that you're aware of these things, but like, I just think that you have growing up to do.
Yeah. No, I think that makes, now that I understand that this is high school, not college, this makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't like these people that much and you're self-sabotaging. And I think you probably think you want a relationship and you think you like them and you don't.
Yeah.
Best of luck. And, utilize your therapist and don't gaslight people. Yeah. More of the story.
Yeah. The fact that you even know like what gaslighting is like,
I know, huge. Maybe you just listen to the podcast a little too much. Maybe you're
too self-aware.
Yeah. I think it's great though. Most people don't know, like, I don't know anyone who's like gaslighted someone and was like, I gaslight, like, That's remarkable.
I think you seem like you're mentally might be mature and know a lot of things, but you might be overanalyzing the situations because of the sample size of dating that you're in.
Yeah. And you might be emotionally mature in all of these aspects of your life, or more emotionally advanced, and you think you are also in dating, and it's just not, which is fair.
And that's another reason why we ask people how old they are when they call in, because like I was equating confused. But like the advice we give someone at one age is different, and I think you might, if you are an avid listener of the podcast, you might be listening to advice that we're giving to like a 26-year-old and applying that to what you're doing now.
And I think it's good to have like instill good dating habits when like you're young. But yeah, if talk to your therapist about that. And also if your therapist sees nothing wrong, then I think you'd like take their word for it.
For now, unless you find out it's a bad therapist later.
Okay. This makes so much more sense to me. It is time for Don't Blame Them. This is where a listener will call in and give their own advice pertaining to a call we've had on a previous episode. So maybe they have just their own feelings regarding it. They thought of something relevant that we didn't mention, or maybe they have some personal experience.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I'm calling in for Don't Blame Them, Season 8, Episode 5. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm 24. The caller had a boyfriend doubting her use of Snapchat and ended up adding his ex on Snapchat to retaliate. I am 100% with your guys' advice. I was in a similar situation, but instead I was the ex who was added on Snapchat and then therefore started a promiscuous relationship. At that point, he had told me that they were in an open relationship because of long distance and that his girlfriend was fine with all of this. We used Snapchat, so the messages and photos all disappeared. I was starting to feel unwary, but I didn't feel like I had evidence to present to his girlfriend. Not that you need evidence, but I felt like I needed to provide it if I was going to be coming forth as the quote-unquote other woman. But I was also still under the impression that they were in an open relationship. I knew he wasn't being honest with either of us, so I ended up DMing her my side of the story. She took me at my word, and they ended up breaking up. Obviously, I had burned my bridge with him as well. But in the end, I think it worked out better for at least her and I, maybe not him, but I would say that her and I are both thriving now. So I would go with Megan and Melissa's advice, go with your gut, and also let's definitely stop using Snapchat. Thanks, guys.
Stop using Snapchat.
Get off Snapchat.
2021. Get off Snapchat. I just don't.
I personally am someone that loves receipts, so that's why I hate Snapchat.
I even hate Snapchat as like a friend who is like friends with people who have like been on Snapchat, and like, I think you've heard this story. We have a friend who like someone had like messaged them this like crazy thing on Snapchat, and I was like, oh my God, I want to see. They were like, it expired. That's why they sent it on Snapchat.
Receipts. You need the receipts.
It just is like, it's not satisfying.
No.
Like, then you have to like screenshot and like, don't you get a notification?
You get a notification unless you use another phone.
I was going to say, which, you know, we've all been there doing that shit, but like,
yeah.
Okay. That is our episode, everybody. We hope you enjoyed. If you did, we would love if you left a review. Head over to the Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen, but specifically the Apple Podcast app. It really helps us. If you leave a review, it makes our day. It's great. We enjoy it. Also, if you're like, you know, not a part of the Facebook group and you want to be like, wow, I love this episode. This call was great. Like blah, blah, blah. Feel free to, you can do that in a review. And if you want to watch the video version of this podcast, we are on Patreon. It's only $1 a month to see the video versions. And we also have a $5 tier where we go live twice a month. It's really fun. It's literally just like, think of like early pandemic days, Zoom hangouts with your friends. It's literally that.
Yeah, and I also, a lot of people, when we posted the picture saying, it's so good to see you guys back together again. And I was like, you guys could see us back together if you join the group.
And if you're like not a participatory person in that sense, that like that makes you like, there are lots of people who have like been a part of the Patreon for a while who like only recently started coming to do that kind of stuff. You can always watch them ahead of time. Like you can like watch old ones to like see what they're kind of like and see that they're like very casual, very fun. And it's also a great way to make friends within the community. And whether that's in like the same city or even if it's not the same city, it always like warms my heart that people are like, oh my God, so we were talking about this in our group chat. And I was like, oh, I love that. And if you want to contribute more than $5 a month, feel free to add however much money you want. Jeff Bezos, I know you're listening. If you want to leave us a voicemail, you can do that at
310-694-0976. I've never said it out loud. Is that right?
That is right.
Okay.
It took me a minute. My brain farted. We hope you all enjoyed this episode. You can find us on all of our socials. We also have launched a TikTok for the podcast.
I don't think we've talked about TikTok.
No, we haven't.
Tickety talk. We haven't done anything except for, I mean, there's like clips that we don't put on Instagram.
Yeah. But, you know, if anyone wants to give us, if you want to duet us, stitch it, you have any ideas, anything, let us know.
Please. We should make a TikTok, like an actual TikTok.
I know. We have to come up with some idea.
Or we could just like do one of those music ones where we just guess music or something.
We guess the music?
You know, like it's like this music came out in like the 90s and then it works for us because we have different age.
Yeah, that's a good call. It's a good call. Is there anything else to promote?
Yes, our merchandise.
Oh my gosh, our merch is out. Pick it up. Get it. It's great. Very cute. We love it. Hopefully by now my presets will be out.
I'm gonna give you some homework.
What day does this episode come out? No, I hate homework. Well, what day does this episode come out? Or if you're gonna guess, how many
7 days from Monday.
Okay, so hopefully my presets will be out by now. And if they are, pick them up. They're real cute. What's my homework?
Our homework is when someone sends like a picture of them, because right now when you listen to this, I think we're still in pre-order, so it hasn't been shipped yet. But when people start taking pictures of themselves in the merch, then you make like a class picture with everyone in it.
That's not even homework.
Merch.
You know how much I love that kind of shit. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. I like that. It's a good call. I'll save them all.
Like, or you could just do as they come in, so then you don't have a whole bunch at one time.
See, I don't think that far ahead of time, but that is a good idea.
I'm giving you the insight now.
That is it for our episode. We will see you all next time. Good fucking bye.
Toodaloo.
Don't Blame Me is a production by me, executive produced by Melissa DeMonts, edited by Katrina Henning, and music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso. Hey, are you ready for some real talk and some fantastic laughs? Join me, Megan Rinks.
And me, Melissa DeMonts, for Don't Blame Me, But Am I Wrong?
We're serving up 4 hilarious shows every week designed to entertain and engage and, possibly enrage you.
In Don't Blame Me, we dive deep into listeners' questions, offering advice that's funny, relatable, and real.
Whether you're dealing with relationship drama or you just need a friend's perspective, we've got you.
Then switch gears with But Am I Wrong, which is for listeners who didn't take our advice and want to know if they are the villains in the situation.
Plus, we share our hot takes on current events and present situations that we might even be wrong in our lives. Spoiler alert, we are actually quite literally never wrong.
But wait, there's more. Check out See You Next Tuesday, where we reveal the juicy results from our listener polls from But Am I Wrong?
And don't miss Fisting Friday, where we catch up, chat about pop culture, TV, and movies. It's the perfect way to kick off your weekend.
So if you're looking for a podcast that feels like a chat with your besties, listen to Don't Blame Me, But Am I Wrong on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go Network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.